of. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay.
So we're here to talk about the cold weather emergency, obviously.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell us about what to do in the event of a power outage in the winter for aquariums.
Yeah, and that can be a problem. Not all fish are tropical, but certainly most of them are. Nearly every marine fish that you would ever carry here is tropical. And then freshwater, all but goldfish and maybe a couple others tend to need that temperature, preferably in the 70s at least. And by not having that, you definitely, we've seen several people today that are in bad situations. So the most important, there's basically three elements to an aquarium that you need to maintain. And the first thing that's going to cause harm is that they don't have oxygen. So circulating the water is the first priority. And that can simply be done by a battery-operated air pump. One footnote, if you have a generator, use it. Get it rolling, get it going. That's probably the first priority in your house as far as something to run. The second point would be, to that point, would be the heater. Because although you can pop batteries in a aerator to keep the tank aerated, you can't throw any batteries into a heater and keep the tank up. It's too energy consuming. So the next concern would be heat, and although you can switch in and out, for those who actually have heat running, you can take maybe 2-liter bottles and keep throwing them in there. You want to actually not pour hot water into the tank because that can be problematic, but by actually putting as hot of water as you can get in some 2-liter jugs, throwing them in the tank, watch the temperature. You have to have a thermometer doing this. You don't want to get the tank too warm. But as a general rule, you want to have maybe anywhere from 3 to 5% of the tank displaced with hot water, and then watch the temperature and see where it goes from there. If that's not possible, then there's a couple other ideas. One, if you only have a few fish, you might be able to come up with an emergency bucket or Rubbermaid tub with a sponge filter, an air bubbler, and a regular heater at the in-laws or the parents' house or wherever you're going to go to, and just make it a transportation capable aquarium. Doesn't have to have glass walls. It could have glass walls if you have an extra small glass tank. Now once it starts getting larger, you start having a problem because trying to find an alternative sturdy environment to keep the water in a new location can be particularly troublesome. So you might have to find, we have opened up our tanks to that, and as long as there's capacity, that's one idea. And then the other point to be made is that your filter's not working. So if you have an air pump, an air bubbler, and you've solved the heat problem, then I'd recommend coming in and getting an established sponge filter if you don't already have one in your fish tank. Actually having a sponge filter as an extra filter for your aquarium ongoing is a great way to help stack the cards in your favor when this happens, because a sponge filter can be a complete filter system for a temporary or more permanent situation. And the air pump is all you need to run it, and if you have a battery operated air pump to run it, you've got an established filter system. So on the last point, making sure that the water chemistry doesn't get bad, you need to think about reestablishing some form of filtration if possible. Partial water changes can compensate. And let's see, had something in mind.
Well, let's say I've got my aquarium set, I've got my heat, I've got my aerator going, I've got a sponge filter. Should I continue to feed my fish in this scenario?
So, yeah, and that's the other point, is that one, you want to reestablish biological filtration, and you hit the nail on the head. The other concern is that people will have a tendency of feeding their fish during this outage, and as a general rule, the fish could probably go several days without any food, but a small amount of food is okay. But you have to remember, uneaten food or even substantial amount of eating can cause more pollution to that tank, and when you're trying to keep the tank in good order, it's probably better to kind of sacrifice a little food for the advantage of better water chemistry. So careful feeding is really important. Any food going in that's not eaten is a problem. maybe feeding most fish every other day might be appropriate, and just not putting any amount of food in that doesn't immediately get eaten.
Okay, and if there are any other issues that folks have in terms of their aquariums and the power outage and that sort of stuff, what's the number here at the store that they can call?
Sure. So it's 517-749, say that again, 517-339-1762.
339-1762.
Yep,
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
awesome.